Welcome to the Living Legacy Podcast, where we feature wealth experts, investors, and entrepreneurs as they share their inspiring journey to living their best life. Now, let's get started with the show.
Hey everybody, Brian Fouch here, and welcome to the Living Legacy Podcast, where we feature guests from all types of businesses, entrepreneurs, investors, and wealth builders. And this episode is brought to you by the Living Legacy Association, where we teach the middle class how to invest and build wealth like the elite. And we've helped over 50,000 people do the same thing. So if you want to learn more, go to livinglegacyassociation.com. Now, I'm really excited today because I got a good friend of mine, Brett Lane. And Brett, first off, just thank you for being here.
Absolutely. Appreciate you having me.
Yeah. And so I've known Brett, we've known each other for coming on 5 years, at least I think right now. And we met through the board advisor mastermind and just hit it off. And we've done some fun things. Our families have had get-togethers, and it's been great knowing you. And I'm excited for the topic that we're going to be talking about here today on the Legacy Podcast, because it is something that is being discussed in a lot of the circles that we're in, but also it has a potential to make a big impact in the world. And that is AI. Artificial intelligence, when it comes to marketing, when it comes to the online space especially. And I know, Brett, you have dove into that head first, and I've heard you talk about it, and it's just fascinating. So I'm excited to dive into that. But before we get into that, obviously the one thing that I first knew you for was SEO or search engine optimization. And that's your main focus or business that you've had since I've known you, correct?
Correct. Yep.
So
yeah.
I know some of your journey, and I want you to share it with the people who are not familiar with you. So if you want to start there, how did you get into SEO marketing and entrepreneurship? Because you got started actually at a pretty young age, which is pretty cool. But kind of what was your journey to becoming an entrepreneur?
So I started about 20 years ago. I had been living in Texas, and I literally had just gotten married. And my wife and I were living in a small place, and she was working at a bank, and she had been robbed at that bank twice. And we decided we wanted to do something different. So we created a company together, and I had heard about this. It really wasn't called search engine optimization. It was just trying to get rankings on Google or on other search engines. And right. So we created a company together. And then I think after about 2 days, I actually quit that position because I had also had another job working with another agency, and I didn't want to have a conflict of interest. And we were told we needed to have two people to start the corporation. So what I was doing was I told my wife that I was going to be able to find businesses who needed to rank online, and I was going to do a bunch of testing and things of that nature. And she initially laughed and thought, "Oh, that's interesting. We'll see it. I know you can do whatever you say you want to do, but how much opportunity exists in that space since it was so new." And I said, I'm going to continue to just put my head down, and I'm going to make something out of this. So I continued to look for agency style jobs that were doing things related to digital marketing as a whole. And I found a position that opened up in Missouri, and I was able to work for a very small company. And it was interesting because I kind of springboarded that company. They didn't even have a position available for what I was looking to do. And I actually sold them the idea of creating a position. I had the opportunity of working with them for about 6 months. And then they said, "Hey, we can't really afford you anymore," because they were running into a few other billing issues or something. So I said, "Okay, I'm going to find an agency to work with." And I was able to work with two different agencies that were in Ohio that helped me work with massive companies like Four Seasons, Build-A-Bear, Progressive Insurance, Nationwide Insurance, just massive companies where they gave me the opportunity to sink or swim. I come in with the most experience. And even at that time, it was only about 3 years experience. And I was able to take what I had learned working with small businesses and apply them to these massive brands. And I was able to help lead the teams for two large digital marketing agencies. And then I finally came to a point where I said, "Hey, I'm tired of making people tons and tons of money," because I actually sold a massive deal. It's about $600,000. And I was supposed to get a $60,000 commission on that sale. And the company that I was working with at the time happened to change the commission structure about a month before that deal closed. So I'd been working on this deal for a year and a half to close. And so then they changed it on me last minute. And then I wound up making about a $3,000 commission, which sounds really great, but that compared to $50K is like a drop in the hat. So that was for me, was the biggest catalyst for I'm tired of working for other people. I'm tired of making them money, millions of dollars. It's time for me to start making myself millions of dollars. And that's really what led me down the path of focusing on digital marketing heavily for myself and having an agency. It's been in existence for about 16 years now. So I've been working in all kinds of different industries. And as you mentioned before, it started out with SEO, but really where my passion is learning technology and learning how to re-engineer things. So I started with Google, then we moved to Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, LinkedIn, anything, any type of technology that has algorithm. Basically my purpose with our company is to be able to figure out how that works and then take the learnings from those algorithms and then be able to apply those for clients and get the clients the exposure that they needed. So, even though I started out heavily with SEO, I just love all things digital. And that's the main reason why now I'm looking so heavily into artificial intelligence.
That's an incredible journey. It's kind of cool that you've found something that you are good at, passionate about, and that's been the underlying theme of all your businesses, and you've grown with it. So, that's one of the things for anyone who's listening. When you're looking at entrepreneurship, business, find something that you enjoy doing first off, that you can do, that you can pursue as you go through that journey. Because that's one thing that I've jumped around a bit too much, and from one strategy or concept to another one, and that it's like starting over all the time. And I tell people, I said, yeah, you do start over when you're an entrepreneur. You're going to have those times where you do that, and you had it with the health business. But find that thing that is your kind of your foundation. And so you with the tech is that. So when did you first start paying attention to AI?
So I started looking at AI type of technology long before it was even coined, where it became such a hot topic. So about 6 years ago, we started looking at doing things with content, and we were writing thousands of pieces of content a month for clients. And we needed to come up with a way of creating content faster. So we started utilizing technology. It wasn't called AI, but it was computer-based learning technology that would look at creating content and tweaking content that was fed by a human. And so we started learning more about the languages, and we looked at computer learning and things of that nature. So about 6 to 7 years ago, I would say we were looking heavier into how do you use technology in a way that can transform text-based content. So I hadn't been looking into, things with images or videos so heavily, but it was really just in my particular case, how would we use technology to be able to give a higher output for content? Because, when you're an agency creating thousands of pieces of content a month, my competitors, who actually almost bought one of my competitors, I found out that their operating expenses were double that of mine because they weren't using tech like we were. They were spending, at the time I was spending I think they were spending like $700,000 more than I was on just operating their business. So that was a definite when I found out and they were literally almost at the same exact level of business that I was, but they were spending about $700,000 more just to keep their business operating.
Per year, you mean?
Yeah, just per year. I mean, it was
that's crazy. And that's one of the things that I've learned is you've got to really, when you own your own business and you're in a space that can fluctuate, knowing your overhead, your expenses is paramount. It is so powerful because that can make or break a company immediately. In fact, a couple of years ago, I had an instance where our revenue went from multiple six figures to zero, and yet our expenses didn't go down. And all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh. And our expenses were six figures, and when I started talking to some mentors, they said, that's double what you should be, even at $300,000 a month in revenue. You're paying more than twice what you should for expenses. And I'm like, well, really? But one of the things that I wasn't implementing very well was tech. Was not using tech to do some of the, call it services or jobs that my staff was doing. So that's a very powerful thing to know right there. So obviously AI has been discussed a lot right now. It's being discussed in a lot of the online spaces for copy and now images. We're seeing like this deep fake, all this kind of stuff. And there are people talking about, AI is going to take over jobs, going to transform the industries. How have you used it though in the last, I want to say 3 years in your business before people have been talking about it so mainstream?
So that's a good question, because when you were chatting a minute ago, I was thinking about one way that we've been using it. And I was thinking, holy cow, operational costs. And I just was talking to my team just yesterday about how, on average, when you are working with content, typically you're going to pay, since I'm a stickler for working with vendors. Like I have a vendor that they're charging about $12 per piece of content just to edit the content. And wow. I'll give them 1,000 words. They'll spend time. They'll clean it up. They'll make sure it's SEO friendly, do what they need to do. And I was like, oh, that's $12 per, article. Not too big. Unless you're doing hundreds upon hundreds of articles, that starts to add up. And I have been working with this tool it's called Trinka, TRINK.ai. Very good tool, but it's been used primarily from an academic standpoint. And with that particular tool, I was looking at it originally, and I found out that they use it for finding citations for content, for research papers. They also use it for grammar, punctuation, and things of that nature. But they have this one functionality that I thought was pretty cool. You can literally do auto file editing, and you upload one file at a time, and it'll literally go through up to 5,000 words of content, and it'll charge. If you buy them in bulk, you can get about 20 credits for about $72. So I think it rounds out about $3 and some change, $3.86-ish. And I was thinking, I'm paying people $12 a piece to edit content, when in fact I have technology with AI that's checking for like 3,000 to 4,000 types of errors, and it checks 5,000 words, and it's only going to charge me about $3.86. And then when I ran some pieces of content through it yesterday that were a couple thousand, like maybe 3,000 words. Once it did its thing, it literally took, I'd say, about 30 seconds, 45 seconds to scan the entire piece of content. And then I had to go back through it really quickly, and I ran it through Grammarly, and I checked off a few things that they felt like needed to be tweaked. But all in all, I mean, like one piece of content would have cost $12, would have taken an hour to review, literally took 5 minutes. It took like about 30 seconds to upload, 30 seconds to process, and I spent 5 minutes on it. So it took me less than 7 minutes to edit the same content that somebody would have edited in an hour. And I did it at 1/4 of the cost of what it would have cost me to do somebody else. So AI is, in my opinion, the biggest functionality of AI is being able to scale anything. Like I could scale that. I could give it 100 pieces of content or 1,000. Still going to charge me $3.86. So it's more cost effective. I get 5 times, 10 times the amount of work done, and it's only costing me 25% of what it originally would have cost me.
That's an interesting functionality or use right there that a lot of people may not be understanding, is that it can take the place of somebody. We're not talking about construction work. We're not talking about that. We're talking about a lot of the behind the scenes marketing stuff that we spend on agencies to do for us, or we go hire this person and their full-time job is doing copy or writing copywriting. And yet the software is taking essentially what's already been produced in the world online, taking that and applying it to what we're doing in a fraction of the time, fraction of the cost. And that's a huge impact right there for people that want to do what you just said, which is scale or grow or do things that, like, I don't know how to do this, and I got to go find somebody, got to hire somebody, all that kind of stuff. But now, oh my gosh, just snap of the fingers and you get it done. Now, Brett, on your opinion, what are the limitations though of AI when it comes to people maybe relying upon it too much?
It's another really good question. I ran into a situation with that just yesterday. It's about the prompting and the engineering and what we like to call priming in the industry now. You're priming the AI to learn more about your business in a way that it can write. So like in the usage of content, for instance, it's not going to take away writers and make them all disappear. But if you can take away writer's block and create content faster, and then somebody can take that content, tweak that in a quicker fashion, that's awesome. You're saving a lot of time and or money. But the thing that we ran into yesterday was prompting and priming and saying, hey, we need you to do this, 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 this. So if you go to AI, especially as it relates to content or anything, content, videos, imagery, if the more detailed you are with the AI, the better the output. So it's like anything else. It's a form of communication. If you and I have a conversation and I tell you, I want you to create me a log cabin in Washington, in the forest, and it's 2,000 square feet. Okay, that's very broad. I didn't tell you that I wanted a log cabin that had 6 windows, that had, different components to it. So like when you're able to write a blueprint for the tech and say, like in the case of content, I had to say, to the tool. I would like you to write an article that is in reference to Brian Fouts' brand, and it is in reference to these keywords. It needs to reference the brand in this fashion. It needs to be this long. It needs to have, 10 headings. Each heading has a paragraph. Each paragraph has 6 sentences. I need to have these links embedded into the content that point to different places. I want you to write with burstiness. I want you to make sure that you're not using certain kinds of words too often. I want to make sure you're not duplicating content. So I literally had this morning worked with one of my team members and wrote this massive script that I can then take and apply it towards any customer that I'm working with, as long as I change those variables, change the brand, change the URL, change the keywords. But if you're not guiding the tool and being as specific as you can, unfortunately, what winds up happening is the output that you get is not that great. So like you mentioned, hey, are jobs being lost? I mean, some jobs are going to be lost because there's going to be people like you and me who learn technology and jump on the bandwagon and learn how to do things really, really well. Those people are going to excel. But we still need to teach the AI, hey, I want you to do this list of 20 things, and it needs to be done a specific way. So, you're able to create content in many forms. You just have to be able to do it where you're guiding it. I like to look at it more like people have said, hey, this is like a junior engineer at a company. They're there, or junior marketer. They know a lot about a lot of things, but they need somebody to guide them in terms of the overall strategy. That's where we as human beings that's where we inject ourselves into the AI. And I think that's the biggest limitation with AI. One other good example of that, there's things called Auto GPT, where they use these things called agents, where you have, you used to be able to run these programs on a server. Now there's different websites like Agent GPT, very, very good site that can go out and run. And what it'll do is you'll say, I need you to do this. I need you to create me an article about X, Y, and Z. And then the AI is insane in that it'll take your query and create 10 new queries that need to be accomplished for you to get that one query. Now, this sounds really cool, and it's really nice that it can guide itself, but the downside to it is sometimes it goes insane with how many queries. Like, I was asking it for me to do these 5 things, and it did those 5 things, and then it started talking about doing additional research and it added like 5 or 6 more things. And I said, I don't need those things. That wasn't a part of my query. So the AI, the limitation is, you still have to be able to push buttons and turn levers to make it do what you want. So the benefit, it can also be a limitation.
That's a good point you bring up, because I was on a conversation with somebody that, as well as Joel, here a couple of weeks ago, talking about this exact thing. And his take on it is that people are going to rely too heavily upon the AI to do whatever it is, like their job or their marketing. And they're going to just say, I want this, not realizing that is too broad. And the AI, just like, as you said, think of it as a real person. Well, the real person is going to take what you said and say, okay, well, that's a very broad thing. I'll do a broad response. And that's all it can do, because it's the concept of the quality of the question. It dictates the quality of the answer. And I believe the same thing is there with AI. And so what he was doing, he said that what they would do is they would tell the AI, analyze these pieces of copy or this marketing or this video of me talking. And it would do that. And they would say, that is how I communicate. Now I want to write a email or a post or a news article about this topic in that tone of voice. And all of a sudden, the output that it gave was different than if you hadn't had to go through and look at how you speak or talk. And people don't realize that the AI software is self-learning. That's why it's called AI, because it can self-learn. So this is one of the things that I find fascinating, is that you have to teach the AI software, but once it learns, then you can just keep producing and producing and producing, but you've got to put that right input into its hands first so that it can give you the results that are yours, that sound like you. Because when I first did it, it didn't sound like me. It wasn't my voice at all. But then all of a sudden I said, hey, read these 3 emails. Now redo it in that tone of voice. And it was a completely different tone in the next version. And I was like, oh my gosh, that to me is where a lot of the people are missing the mark. I'm not sure if you've experienced that as well, but it sounds like you've seen that before too.
Yeah, I think the kicker is if you're using tools, especially like GPT, if you use their playground functionality, it's really cool because you can have access to their API key and you can get credits. And it doesn't really cost a whole lot of money to run content through their playground. But what I like about it is you can put that, like, I think it's like 30,000 characters into the tool. And you can say, I need you to review this content. And you can just keep putting article after article after article. Or, you can look at doing the same things with videos. I see some companies, they'll say, I've got 100 videos that I've created. And the tools will literally transcribe the audio from the files, create a database of every single thing that you've said. Now it understands. I mean, you can take every single bit of training that you do, Brian, and say, hey, this is my voice. Here's 100 videos. It transcribes every single video. It understands how you talk, how you train. And now you have a working AI model of your knowledge that then you can say, hey, we talked about infinite banking, or we talked about real estate. I talked about this, and this. Can you come up with a new post based on what I've said and combine 5 different topics and just give me snippets of each topic as a top 5 things to do in relation to, real estate or investing for somebody who doesn't want to go too heavy, too deep, too fast. And yeah, it'll create everything based on what you said. So I've seen multiple instances of being able to do that, but you're absolutely right. The more you feed it, rather than feeding it with prompts, feed it with your data. Then it understands you 100%.
Yeah. And so that's one of the things where I just talk to some people that say, oh, I want to start an online business. I want to do this. I'm going to use AI to do that. And I've always said, yeah, you can, but what is the AI going to create the business based upon what? Like, what have you produced that it's going to use to produce more of that? You have to have something for it to produce, something for it to look at to produce what you want. And so I've seen too many people produce something, and they've actually sent it to me. And I said, yeah, but that sounds so generic. It sounds like I can go do a Google search and get the exact same thing. There's no personality to it. There's no opinion. So think of somebody. This is a great example. Think of Waylon. You know who Waylon is? Sean Whalen. Sean.
Oh, Sean Whalen. No, I do not.
Yeah, so I think it's who I'm thinking of, but he's very, very controversial online. And he is controversial. Well, if you told AI to go do an article for Sean based upon this topic, well, it would not sound like him at all, because he is very polarizing. Everything he does is polarizing, and so you have to tell it first. Hey, this is how I talk. This is my belief system. This is how I communicate. These are the words that I use. All these kinds of things. And then all of a sudden, then it can produce that thing that is in line with the way that he would actually talk or speak about it. So that is something I definitely have seen people trying to do. They're missing that part of it right there. So that being said, Brett, what do you see AI doing moving forward for businesses and stuff? Where's it going?
I mean, we're seeing a lot more in relation to image generation, videos. I've seen a lot of companies using it now to be able to train, whether they have a talking head, like they'll create a humitar of like myself sitting here speaking, and then they'll train the AI to talk. They'll take my voice and they'll take hours upon hours of recordings, and then they'll be able to speak new things in from text to speech and then combine it with video. So we're seeing some really cool things on that end. One of the things that I'm going to be using AI for here, and I literally this just popped into my head. I've been thinking about this for a while. I have this crazy story, my life has been insane the last 5 years. So what I think I'm going to start doing is a set of videos. I'm just going to get and start recording myself. I'm going to ask myself a bunch of questions, record myself, and then I'm going to take those videos and I'm going to transcribe all the audio. And then I'm going to upload it into a private, into my YouTube channel. I'll just make it private. And then I'm going to take and do that for like a month and create all kinds of really good content. And then after I do that, I'm going to transcribe everything into text. And then I'm going to use AI to write a book. And it's all going to be out of my own words, because I'm going to say, here's, tell me something about what happened during COVID. Here's this long story about the things that I've gone through, overcoming everything. And then I'm going to tell AI, hey, process every single thing in this text. And then what I need you to do is come up with a book that talks about these different things, and then structure the AI and then have the AI create the book and have it be created in my own words.
Wow. I mean, that's a cool concept, because someone actually at the last time we were together at VA told me that they want me to write a book about a concept that I came up with, which is group thinking, or group influence. So, and it came up because they're talking about politics and how certain people that go into politics that have really good intentions either get kicked out of politics or end up not following the good intention route they originally started with. And I said, yeah, it's because there's a group subconscious impact in the political world. That's why it's so evil. And it was interesting. And there's a lot more into it than just that, but they said, man, you've got to write a book about that, because you can see it in society, in neighborhoods, in culture, in race wars, all these kind of things. You can see this whole concept playing out. Mm-hmm. And yet nobody's talking about what I was mentioning to this person. But now that you just mentioned AI to write a book, I'm like, man, I can easily sit here and just riff. You know me. I can talk about these kind of concepts all day long and then do exactly what you just said and have it be transcribed. And then an AI can then take that and put it into a structure of a book. That's a really phenomenal idea. I love that. I'm going to steal it.
The key thing really, people are doing a lot of stuff with AI in books now, but it's just what you said. They're not giving it enough information, and it's not them. But if I sit here and spend a month and create 30 hours of content and do one video, and I'm like, here is the intro for the video or for the book, do another one. Here is chapter 1. And you just do this. You might have 30 chapters or 30 days worth of content. Here's what I would do too. I would tell the AI, I want to write a book based on my stories that's in relation to this, these 20 things or whatever. Can you create an outline or a structure for me to do video series so that I can create the content for a book? And then it's gonna plot it all out for you. And then every day you say, I'm going to do this in 30 days. Each day I'm going to do 1 hour worth of recording. And then now you're following the structure based on what would be in the book long before it was created. And you just, every day of the month, you just do an hour or do a couple hours here and there. And then by the time you're done, then you just have to take each video and transcribe each video. And you're like, okay, I've got an hour's worth of me talking. It's probably going to transcribe to probably about maybe 5 to 10, maybe 10,000 words, if that. So now you've got you're going to have to do it in smaller chunks, but at least if you do it this way, you know that whatever was created is in fact your voice. And that's the kicker. Because if somebody said, I'm going to write a book with AI. Okay. How'd you do it? I would not be ashamed to say I wrote a book with AI and I fed it 30 hours worth of content versus, I just wrote an AI book about struggles. They'd be like, what the heck? What struggles? Oh, you talked about your struggle with this, this, and this. But when you and I are talking and we're spending the time building the database, if you will, that's way different because nobody can say, oh, you created that book and it's not unique. It's not true to your voice. Yes, it is. I trained the AI to speak my language and it happened to help me write a book in my own words.
It's interesting because I know a lot of individuals who have businesses around writing books for people. And a lot of what they're selling is the fact that, hey, you don't have to write the book. We'll write it for you using your content, your voice, your input. And all of a sudden it's like, well, that's what we're talking about with AI. And so people get this, it's the same thing, except guess what? Instead of paying $50,000, you might pay $1,000 to do the same thing, but you've still got to do the same stuff to get it to work. But the time and the investment are vastly different. I think that is one of the biggest things with AI. It's not reducing the amount of input you have to provide, but it's the time and money aspect of it that is the biggest change. So that's interesting. Really good thing for people to understand. All right. So, Brett, last thing I want to ask you is, what I'm seeing right now is a lot of people are creating softwares, or I'm seeing all these different platforms, software things cropping up all over the place right now for AI. What are some of the main ones that if someone is saying, I want to get into AI, I want to start looking at it, I want to start learning more about it, what are some of the ones they should actually truly look at versus the flash in the pan ones that are cropping up that are essentially just utilizing other platforms and selling the same services?
It's a good question. A lot of it depends on what you do as a profession, what you want to do with the tools. So there's a site that I look at called futuretools.io. Very good tool. It's a lot of things that talk about AI. And what the reason I would bring up that from a macro level is you can use AI in lots of different ways. So if you are going in, you need AI to be used with your scheduling, there's scheduling apps. Or if you need to use AI with content, there's content, things with video, things with, like we were talking about being able to people are using videos where they're doing creating a humitar of like myself speaking right now. And then they can literally take and send videos to people that look 100% customized. Hello, Brian. It's very nice to meet you. Thank you for doing this, this, and this. And the biggest thing that gets changed is the name when the person is talking in the video, and it's all done with AI, and it looks really unique. I mean, so if you go to a tool like futuretools.io, you can see, okay, what's my industry? Do I need help with productivity? Like in the case of doing those videos, if you're reaching out to people on LinkedIn and you want to reach out to 300 people a day, and you have a tool that can make it look like you're giving a custom video to 300 people a day, dude, you're greatly, you're exponentially increasing your output and decreasing the amount of time it would take. So I would say with any tool, don't get so caught up in like what's hot. And, everyone's like Chat GPT is really cool. And it's like, okay, how are you using it? How are you going to use it? What's it going to do? So you look at the end in mind. What do I want to do? Is it save time? Is it I want to increase my productivity, increase my output, and then look at, well, what are the tools that exist specifically for those? And then look to, it's crazy. I look at YouTube. I get so much more content on YouTube about new types of tools related to AI, whether it be, content or whatever. And for whatever reason, for me in the digital marketing space, AI tools, I learn more on YouTube. Some people may learn more on Instagram, but it really depends on what you're looking to achieve with that tool. And look at the end in mind and work your way backwards. I really want to increase my efficiency. I want to decrease the amount of time it takes, but I need to learn how to get more of those hours. We talk about those valuable 24 hours a day. How do you get more of those back and scale them?
Cool. Futuretools.io.
Futuretools.io.
Well, I'm going to check that one out as well. Because I've used Chat GPT or GPT or I always forget how you say that one, but there's different versions of it I've learned as well that are even better and better and better. And it's like, oh my gosh, there's like so many ways to use it, but I get caught up and I go down the rabbit hole just as one tool, not realizing that there are so many other ones out there that are just as good or even better because they're more focused on what you want to use it for. So that's awesome. So I'll definitely check that one out. And then on YouTube, how are you learning on YouTube about the different platforms or softwares?
So when I'm spending, downtime, I will go out and just look at different topics in YouTube about AI or things, different tools. And then the algorithm starts to learn, obviously, this is the kind of content that you consume on a daily basis. And then it starts to give you more suggestions. And then I just look to see, like how many videos are these views are these videos getting picked up within a 2 or 3 day period. Some are getting tens of thousands. And so I'll just go through and look it up by topic. And I'll look at the authors of the content, see how good the content is, see if they're making any kind of a difference in the industry, and then be able to just constantly refine that process.
Cool. And I want to repeat one thing you just said too, is start with the end in mind. I know we've heard that before, but when it comes to AI, yes, have the end goal or end result in mind and then back into it. That's a really good concept because I'm looking at doing some things right now and I keep thinking, oh man, AI's got to help me. AI's got to be good here, but I've got to figure out what I'm going to do with it, what I'm going to use it for. And then I can look at the AI because right now the AI is just confusing the heck out of me because I don't know how to use it because I don't know what I want it to produce. Does that make sense? So yeah. That being said, Brett, this is awesome, man. This is a lot of cool stuff. If someone wants to learn more or follow you, what's the best link or where should they go?
Best place to find me is drdigital.ai.
.ai? Awesome. Yep. drdigital.ai. Love it. All right, Brett, once again, thank you so much. Appreciate your time. And that was awesome. Thanks so much.
Sounds great, brother. Appreciate it.
Thanks for listening to the Living Legacy Podcast. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.